Today we are going to talk about the apple canker model. Let's select a weather station in the Netherlands and open the apple canker model. Apple canker is a pathogen that can infect both the wood and the fruits. It has two forms: a sexual form that looks like small red spheres, and an asexual form making white fructifications. It has a wide range of hosts, and among them is the apple tree. Apple canker can only infect wounds, natural or artificial. So the most high-risk period for infections is often in autumn, when you have multiple leaf scars and picking scars, or in winter during pruning. Any wound can be an entry point for this pathogen. This weather station is in summer at the moment, and it is not the best time of the year for infections. Let's zoom out a little bit on this graph to visualize autumn and winter time. At the bottom of the graph, in this bar, in dark blue are the rain periods, and in light blue are the wetness periods that have been recorded by your weather station. We mentioned before that you can have two types of spores. The sexual form is called ascospore, and the asexual form is called canidiospore. Taking into account those two inoculum sources, you can have spores any time of the year. The model is assuming that there is an inexhaustible stock of ascospore and canidiospore in the environment. A rain event is necessary to discharge the spores onto the wounds, modeled in yellow. The quantity of spores ejected depend on the temperatures and the duration of the rain. In this example, there is a rain event in dark blue, causing spores to be discharged onto the trees. If the rain is followed by wetness and favorable temperatures, optimum between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius, those spores can germinate. Germination is modeled in white. Apple canker spores are susceptible to desiccation. The model takes into account that if there is a dry period following the rain, some spores will die. However, if the conditions are favorable for germination for long enough, then an infection can occur. The infection is modeled in red. The higher is the infection line, the more serious is the infection. The model gives the weather conditions that are favorable for the canker infection. But the final intensity of the infection event is also given by the susceptibility of your variety. For example, Gala, Kanzi, and Jazz are very susceptible to apple canker infections. Some environmental factors can also influence the susceptibility of your trees. For example, water stress or excessive nitrogen fertilization can also increase the severity of the infections. This is why it is also important to be careful about all the factors that may aggravate the disease. In the top graph, the model estimates wound healing. Indeed, the wounds are only susceptible to canker infections when they are quite young. We'll go back to 2022 so we can see the healing of the leaf scars during last autumn. This is October and November 2022. The user has entered the date of start of leaf fall aimed 15th of October. It can be modified in the biological parameters. Leaf fall then follows a normal distribution. The speed of healing of the wounds is calculated based on the temperatures. Fresh wounds are in green and healing wounds are in orange. This graph helps us to understand that if there is an infection at a time when there are many sensitive wounds, the infection may be more serious. This model is not estimating the onset of the symptoms because a lot of factors can influence this process, for example variety or stress. Most of the infections that occur in autumn on picking wounds or leaf scar wounds will make symptoms the next spring. But an infection on a big wound, such as a pruning wound, can take up to 2 years before symptoms appear. Concerning the treatments, most of the sprays should be applied just before the infection, because the rains helps to redistribute the fungicide. Among the fungicides that have an efficacy on apple canker, the most used are captan and copper. You can go to the Spray Plan tab if you want to enter your sprays. The fungicide module works the same as for the apple scab model. Once the fungicide treatment is added, the fungicide coverage appears as a grey layer and decreases after each rain event, causing wash-off. If you have any question, please contact us at support@rimpro.eu.